The CommandFactory pattern, architecture that scales to 14 million players. Hello and welcome to episode number 32 of the Unity Performance Task Force podcast. I'm your host Ruben from TheGameDev.Guru, and as usual I'll kick things off with a question for you. Have you ever worked on a code base where adding one new feature meant touching 10 files, manually injecting dependencies, and praying you didn't forget something that would blow up in production? Sounds familiar? If so, this episode is for you. Today we're talking about the CommandFactory pattern. This is architecture that's been proven to work in games serving 40, 50, maybe 60 million players by now. I've shipped this pattern on AAA mobile titles. It works, it scales, and it keeps developers sane. Let me set the stage. You've probably heard me talk about the CommandFactory pattern. This is architecture that's been proven to work in games serving 40, 50, maybe 60 million players by now. I've shipped this pattern on AAA mobile titles. It works, it scales, and it keeps developers sane. Let me set the stage. You've probably heard me talk about the command pattern before. Commands let you group different systems together for one purpose: level up a character, open a UI pop-up, save progress to the backend. Each command encapsulates a specific action. The problem is, creating commands manually gets messy fast. You use the new keyword, you manually assign dependencies, you forget to inject something, and boom, null reference exception at runtime. Your QA team finds it if you're lucky. Your players find it if you're not. Here's the friction. Commands might need dependencies, access to the backend, access to the UI system, access to the player profile. In the past, you'd create the command, then manually inject those dependencies. Every single time. That's too low level. It's error prone. It's not sexy. And honestly, it's not performance friendly either because you're allocating every time without control over pooling or reuse. Enter the CommandFactory. The goal is simple: centralized command creation. Hide the low-level details, auto-inject dependencies. Give yourself room to add features like logging, replays, and object pooling without touching every call site. Let me walk you through the progression. Start with the problem. You have a player level up command. It inherits from a base command class which has a virtual run async method. When the player kills an NPC, you want to level them up. Old way, you'd write new player level up command, assign the player profile, assign the backend, then call run async. If you forget to assign the backend, it blows up later. If you change how commands are created, you have to update every place you create one. Not great. First improvement. Add a setup method to the command. Instead of assigning dependencies one by one, you pass them all at once. This is safer. If you forget a parameter, the compiler yells at you. Better, but you're still calling new. You're still responsible for injection. You're still doing low-level work every time you create a command. Now the factory. Create a static class called CommandFactory. Add a generic method, create. The method takes a type parameter t, where t is a command. It does three things. First, it creates an instance of t with new. Second, it calls an injector to auto-inject dependencies. Third, it returns the command ready to use. Now at the call site, instead of new player level up command, you write CommandFactory.create player level up command. Done. No manual injection, no setup method, the factory handles it. This scales. If you have 100 commands and you decide to add logging, you add it once in the factory. Every command gets logging for free. Same for replays, same for pooling. Let's talk pooling. Maybe you're allocating too many commands. Garbage collector is getting angry. What do? In the old world, you'd add pooling logic to every place you create a command. Nightmare. With the factory, you add a dictionary inside CommandFactory. Key is the command type, value is a pool of reused instances. Now create pooled checks the pool first. If there's a cached instance, return it. If not, create new, cache it, return it. One change. Applies everywhere. That's the power of centralization. Or maybe you want to log every command that runs. Add one line in the factory. Done. Every command logs automatically. Or maybe you're building a replay system. Serialize the command name and parameters. Save to a file. Later, replay the commands. All handled in the factory. Zero changes to gameplay code. Now you might ask, what about the dependencies? The setup method still exists, right? How do we pass those? Option 1. Keep setup, call it inside the factory. The factory knows what dependencies to pass. You define them once, they get injected automatically. Option 2. Pass dependencies as parameters to create. CommandFactory.create player level up command, player profile, backend. The factory uses those to set up the command. More explicit, less magic. Both work. Choose based on your team's preference. Here's what I like to do in production. I analyze the call site. Do I really need to assign the player profile manually, or can I inject it globally, like the backend? If it's global, inject it. If it's specific to this call, pass it as a parameter to create. Keep the API clean. Don't expose low-level details unless you have to. At TheGameDev.Guru, this is the exact architecture we use when teams need to scale to millions of players. The pattern works, it's been battle-tested, and it keeps your codebase maintainable as it grows. Here's your action plan. First, identify one place in your code where you're manually creating commands or similar objects. Second, create a CommandFactory class with a generic create method. Third, move the creation logic and dependency injection into the factory. Fourth, replace all the new keyword calls with CommandFactory.create. Fifth, run your game. Make sure everything still works. Now future-proof. Want logging? Add it to the factory. Want pooling? Add it to the factory. Want replays? Add it to the factory. The factory is your central control point. Let me recap the 3 most important takeaways. 1. Manually creating commands with new and injecting dependencies by hand is error-prone and doesn't scale. 2. The command factory centralizes creation logic, auto-injects dependencies, and hides low-level complexity. 3. Adding features like logging, pooling, or replays becomes trivial because you only change the factory, not every call site. One more thing. This pattern isn't just for commands. You can use it for any object creation where you want control. Factories give you flexibility. Use them. If you're building a game that needs to scale, or you just want cleaner architecture, try this pattern. Start small. One factory, one object type. See how it feels. Then expand. If you found this podcast episode useful, you can access in-depth lessons in the Unity Performance Task Force program at www.performancetaskforce.com. And if Unity consulting is what you are after, book a free discovery call at https://consulting.thegamedev.guru. Till next time.